clans are Nashashan Shlom, but Ani Bashishchin, K Ani Dashiche, Toheglini Dashanel. I'm originally from Bloomfield, New Mexico, and been down here in Phoenix for 32 years. Tara?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tara Weeks, and I am an MMIP advocate. I've been doing this work for, about 5 or 6 years now. Um, I sit on Turtle Island Women Warriors Board of Directors as Vice President and have been working with Reva, I think, about 3 years, maybe a little over 3 years now. So I we'll be delivering a lot of information, and I hope that it is received well. And I, want to give you all my morning greetings. Oh my goodness, where are my manners? Um, my clans are Yeidina Etkachini Ainsman. Ani Bashishin Ashi Yishidok as a Fane Dashanala. Sorry, I should have done that first. I just get so busy getting into the business of these Zoom calls. Thank you.
Tatiana. So we're going to take turns going through the slides. So the first, we're going to do it in order of Reva, Tara, and myself. So you could go ahead and share the slide now. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Turtle Island Women Warriors, Advocacy, Awareness, and Action. Our story, how it started. Initially, we were stolen benefits due to the fraudulent homes that had started down here in the valley with our Native relatives being trafficked down here from the reservations. This work began when our Native relatives were trafficked through unlicensed home and facilities across Arizona and exploited through fraud tied to the American Indian Help Plan. Too many of our people went missing. Too many families were left searching for answers. Systems meant to protect Native lives failed. Turtle Island Women Warriors was formed in response by Native advocates on the ground working to locate, support, and bring our relatives home while demanding justice, accountability, and systemic change. Tara or Leanna? I can.
All right, so the work that Turtle Island Women Warriors brings in the ways of justice and healing. We stand with our Native relatives and families impacted by historical and ongoing injustices, working to restore dignity, safety, and hope.
This is our mission. Our mission, Turtle Island Women Warriors, is a Native-led nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting Indigenous individuals and families through community-centered assistance while addressing the impacts of systematic injustice. We address immediate needs such as housing support, food access, and referrals to behavioral health and other essential services while fostering long-term stability, healing, and self-sufficiency for vulnerable populations, including those experiencing homelessness and individuals navigating the justice system. Our vision, we envision a society where every individual has access to basic necessities, fair representation, culturally responsive resources that support a safe, stable, and dignified life.
our people and lead, which is the leadership and board. Turtle Island Women Warriors is a community-led organization rooted in Indigenous care, accountability, and collective leadership. Again, that's me, Reva Stewart, and the founder of Turtle Island Women Warriors. Our board of directors are Trudy Jackson, she's our president, and Tara Weeks is our vice president. Jared Marquez, who's San Carlos Apache, is our treasurer, and Leanna Walker, who is Dinez, our secretary of the board.
Our group is comprised of an amazing group of volunteers. Over 23 dedicated volunteers, all live within the Phoenix metro area, but also represent multiple tribal nations. Our volunteers serve on the front lines of this work, boots on the ground, supporting outreach, care package distribution, family advocacy, data collection, and community education.
So with the board of directors and our volunteers, we do have community partners and we have MOUs, or we only have one. Collaborate a trusted organization to expand access to care, resource, and support for Native relatives. Our memorandum of understanding, we have a MOU with Scottsdale Recovery, and our community partners are Justice for Native Arizona, Friends of the Homeless, Axiom Recovery, Sanctuary Recovery. Our love and hope for our people are never transactional. Because of this, Turtle Island Women Warriors is intentional and careful about who we partner with and work alongside. We do not support or engage in body brokering in any form. We thoroughly vet organization providers, collaborators to ensure our relatives are never exploited, recruited for profit, or coerced into service. All support we align with must be rooted in trust, integrity, cultural respect, and genuine care, with the sole purpose of protecting our relatives and supporting their safety, dignity, and healing.
Presenting the problem. Overview of the Medicaid fraud schemes. Outpatient treatment centers and behavioral residential facilities, also known as BHRFs, obtained license through the Arizona Department of Health Services and exploited Arizona's Medicaid system access to build the American Indian Health Program. As oversight increased, these bad actors shifted to the marketplace plans to continue exploiting Native relatives. Even to this day, we have our relatives that are being brought down here from the reservations, especially Navajo Nation. As of the last couple of weeks, they're being brought back into these homes again. So they're built for services that were never rendered, exploited gaps in licensing, audits, and oversight, used marketplace plans to bill for subsidized housing, profited while Native lives were put at risk.
Trafficked to treatment. Patient brokers targeted Native Americans on reservations and trafficked them across state lines with false promises. Now, they aren't just our Diné relatives. These are our relatives from all over the nation. Some as far as the very tip top of Montana, some as far as the state of Maine. We've even had some in Florida, California. I mean, they just came from all directions. They were actually recruited from their communities and brought down here, flown usually on a plane, where they were given false promises of luxury housing, Airbnb accommodations, food, money, and incentives, transported into unlicensed sober living homes, forced into unsafe, exploitive conditions, and nothing was sober about these homes.
Systematic failures and missed red flags. These failures, exploitations to continue and unchecked. Public complaints went uninvestigated. Zero audits allowed billing to grow exponentially. No follow-up or annual site surveys by ADHS. Flop houses pose as licensed sober living homes. Patient brokering laws were not enforced.
The scale of the fraud, financial and systemic harm. Outpatient billing increased from 53.5 million in 2019 to 668 million in 2022. That is 2022. As of today, we're going to hit $8 billion. I've been doing a lot of hearings, so we're going to hit the 8 billion mark. And that's a huge increase in the last 3 years. Estimated taxpayer cost is 2.8 billion and climbing. Again, we're going to hit $8 billion. Reports of 2,000 plus deaths in under 5 years. As of April 4, 2025, 319 plus providers have been suspended or terminated. The 400 plus providers on the exclusion list, meaning that they still have a license and they can still operate. 73 individuals have been indicted in this fraud.
The impact, devastating consequences for Native communities, thousands of Native relatives trafficked and exploited, a lot of which we don't even know of that aren't documented. The numbers that we have given in this presentation are just numbers that are known. As we know, statistics can only track what is documented, and a lot of this is not documented, which leaves families searching for missing loved ones. Survivors are left unsheltered, hungry, and re-traumatized. Deaths of those over 2,000 are linked to overdose, neglect, and unsafe housing.
Advocacy and accountability impact. From the beginning to now, since 2022, Turtle Island Women Warriors has taken direct action to protect Native relatives and hold systems accountable. We submitted 1,000 plus public complaints to the Federal Office of Inspector General since 2022. Received acknowledgement from the OIG and FBI beginning March 2024 with no prior confirmations. Collected and archived 7 plus banker boxes of documentation related to fraud and abuse and trafficking. Notified of 1,000 plus deaths connected to this fraudulent system since 2019. Reported hundreds of traffickers and recruiters connected to fraudulent facilities. Posted 400 plus missing person flyers to assist in locating relatives.
And this is our press and advocacy timeline. We have media exposure out there only because we have to document and report unsafe, fraudulent, sober living homes impacting Native relatives across Arizona and across the states, as far as Alaska, all the way to Minnesota to Delaware. Community voices have been amplified. We do gather reports, we send in our reports, and we also do marches. And we have Justin Lum from Fox 10, who has been reporting on these frauds and systemic failures within the sober living and rehab industry. As public awareness grows, the Sober Truth investigative reporting brings widespread attention to the issue, highlighting how vulnerable individuals were targeted and exploited. And you can watch the Sober Truth on YouTube under Fox 10 Investigative Special. And we are now at a state level attention. State leadership has been engaged with Arizona Senator Karen Warner, pushing for increased accountability across Arizona's oversight systems, including proposing Senate Bill 1611. We've also reached out to National Geographic's, which we were in an episode called The Great American Rehab Scam, season 5, episode 7. So we're bringing national attention to this crisis. Ongoing advocacy and accountability. Turtle Island Women Warriors and Justice for Natives continue advocacy, media engagement, and public education, demanding justice for Native relatives harmed by the access system failures.
My apologies, I was muted. Missing murdered Indigenous relatives support and family advocacy in conjunction with outreach to unsheltered Native relatives and victims of fraudulent group homes. Turtle Island Women Warriors provides direct support to families searching for missing Indigenous loved ones. Many cases overlap with traffic to treatment exploitation. Families face barriers, confusion, and lack of timely response from systems that are in place to help. Turtle Island Women Warriors step in to advocate, support, and help families navigate reporting processes. Our work bridges gaps between families, agencies, and community resources, and that isn't just among our Native or our Phoenix metro areas. This is once again across the nation.
Sorry, hold on. I can't see that. Give me 1 second. That is. Despite the limited and often denied grant funding, our team continues to respond to urgent calls for help from families in Phoenix and from tribal nations across the region who are searching for missing loved ones. As requests increase and capacity remain limited, Turtle Island Women Warriors established a MMR toolkit to help streamline the reporting process and guide families through how to properly file missing person reports. This tool ensures reports are elevated, organized, and documented so families receive clear guidance and support even when direct response capacity is stretched. When immediate assistance is needed, families and community members often reach out to Riva, Jared, Raquel, and Jerry Long. This sustained outreach reflects deep community trust built through consistent, persistent presence, direct action, and lived experience. Our work is hands-on, responsive, and rooted in community need, ensuring families are supported and guided carried with respect and accountability. Sorry, I can't read today.
How our work is funded. Turtle Island Women Warriors operate as a community-supported grassroots organization, sustained by the people we serve and those who believe in this work. Our funding comes primarily from community support, including friends, family, community partners, and grassroots donors. GoFundMe contributions that help cover emergency needs. Amazon wish list donations that directly support care packages and outreach. While Turtle Island Women Warriors continues to pursue grant opportunities, funding is frequently denied despite the scope, consistency, and impact of our direct services. Even with limited financial resources, Turtle Island Women Warriors continues to carry the day-to-day work of advocacy, outreach, reporting support, harm reduction, and family assistance, driven by community trust, lived experience, and responsibility to our people. This goes to our weekly outreach that we do, and we hand out over 150 care packages per week.
Accountability and prevention. We need to strengthen oversight and enforcement, implement regular audits and data monitoring, investigate and prosecute fraud and patient brokering, enforce existing state laws protecting Native communities.
A critical, sorry, excuse me, a critical solution for our relatives. People usually ask us, what do you suggest? Like, what does Turtle Island suggest? Or how can we help this issue that's going on in the Metro Center? And we've come up with like what we would want to see our relatives and how to help our relatives. So we said housing first, supported by recovery and stability. Recovery does not happen without stability. After rehab, detox, or treatment, individuals need a safe place to live in order to heal, work, and rebuild their lives. Why housing matters: reduces relapse risk by removing daily survival stress, makes aftercare, counseling, and medication more effective, increases the ability to obtain and maintain employment, lowers overdose risk through stability and harm reduction, encourage engagement with voluntary treatment and support. What the evidence shows, housing first models lead to higher housing retention and improved health outcomes. Requiring sobriety before housing increases relapse and mortality. Voluntarily supportive housing improves long-term recovery success.
Strengthening tribal leadership and community response. This crisis is an epidemic impacting Native communities, and it is visible every day. Our people are unsheltered at every stoplight, every street corner throughout downtown Phoenix and across the metro area. This harm affects tribal members regardless of where it occurs, and tribal nations must be meaningfully involved in protecting their people. We would like to establish coordinated response efforts led by tribal nations in partnership with state and local governments. Ensure tribes have an active role in decision making, response, and oversight affecting their members. Engage tribal leaders as active partners in prevention, response, and treatment and healing efforts. Ensure tribes have a voice in decisions affecting their members, even when harm occurs off tribal lands. This meaning the jurisdiction. Educate communities of warning signs of fraud and how to safely and effectively report abuse. Again, that goes to, we need to educate all the communities of our Navajo, not just our Navajo, but our tribal communities in regards to letting them know that this fraud is continuing to happen. Support displaced victims as they move towards stability, housing, transportation, and family reunification. Strengthen aftercare and long-term recovery support, including behavioral health referrals, peer support, and community-based healing services.
We often get asked why we do this work and why we help in the ways that we do. At times, our efforts are misunderstood and labeled as enabling. The truth is that this work is rooted in lived experience, community responsibility, and of course, care. Our community partners, volunteers, and team includes individuals who were once unsheltered, individuals in recovery from substance abuse, social workers, and advocates, and parents and family members who have lost loved ones to overdose or neglect in these homes. We believe that meeting people where they are with compassion, harm reduction, and dignity saves lives. When we show up, we bring hope, safety, and connection. I also want to add that not are we just meeting them with compassion, harm reduction, and dignity, but we also meet them with consistency. And that has become really powerful when we go out on the same day every week and often see the same people. This work is not theoretical, it is personal, it is informed by lived experience and guided by the belief that people deserve care, not punishment, and that healing begins when someone feels seen and supported. I also want to add that people deserve not only care and not punishment, but they also they also deserve to not be judged and be met with humanity. Go ahead, Leanna.
This crisis has called to action. This crisis has taken lives, separated families, and left too many Native relatives without safety, support, or answers. Silence allows harm to continue. Action saves lives. Stand with Turtle Island Women Warriors and be part of the work to protect our people and demand accountability. Learn the truth. Honor the lives impacted. Help bring our relatives home. Be part of the lasting change. And this is a quote from one of our volunteers, Lee. He's with Scottsdale Recovery. We must work together to ensure this never happens again. The lives of our Native relatives depend on it. So thank you for our presentation. And Riva, do you want to do the last introduction?
Yes, thank you again for watching our presentation. This is who we are. We again continue to do outreach on a weekly basis. During the summer, we go out twice a week because of the heat, and we've had quite a few heat-related deaths due to the unsheltered in the heat and the fentanyl overdoses. So again, thank you. And if you have any questions, we're ready to answer.
Thank you, ladies. My name is Laurel Yate, and for your presentation and sharing the work that you all are doing in this city. I just, so first of all, thank you for looking out for their relatives out there. And just for a little background in regards to my question, I am I run a advocacy program on the Navajo Nation, and part of the work that we did previously when Operation Rainbow Bridge was still in effect under the original intent with the sober living homes we supported and brought relatives home from some of the various fraudulent facilities. I just wanted to ask, I guess I'm a little confused when I hear Turtle Mountain or Turtle Island, I think up north in Canada. So I'm just out of curiosity, I wanted to know what the connection was in that name. And then two, how can the work, first of all, I really want to see how your toolkit is in regards to helping relatives find and navigate the system, because I think that would be really helpful in how in some of the work that we're doing, and also how our relatives are being sent out. I think that would be really helpful and powerful. And after a little review, I would wonder if I guess my proposal would be, after reviewing that, is sharing it on our and of course with your permission and credits to you all, if we could share it on our MMDR website, because we do have a toolkit for that. And then, not for that, but for MMIP is what we do have a toolkit for that. But we also know that very often a lot of our relatives go missing due to this issue. And if not to this issue, then they go missing, and where substances are also a contributing factor. So that is two. And then three, I wanted to see how the work also connected, how you all were connecting to their whatever relatives you are helping. And in this question, since this is MMDR, I'm wondering how you're connecting relatives that you help back to the reservation, and how those services look, and also any type of input that you can share with us in regards to our work as MMDR, and how we can support our relatives that are out there as well. So I do have a lot of questions, and I'm thankful that we're able to connect, but I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, with Turtle Island Women Warriors, we initially started again as Stolen People, Stolen Benefits, because our people were getting fraudulently taken, brought down to these homes, and their benefits were being stolen. We are Turtle Island Women Warriors because we all live on Turtle Island. We're all warrior women. who go out. A majority of our team are women. We have a few men, but a majority of our team are women. Um, so that's where that comes from. We have the toolkit, which has helped get, I'd say, like 3+ people. The families have been able to find them with our toolkit, and um, and I think Leanna has that copy. But yeah, we have been doing this in a new way of reporting because a lot of our reports were being given back out to these bad actors. So we have our reports. We also keep track of we do a data count on every week as we go out, and we check on our relatives, and they give us their names and where they're from. And we tell them, if you go missing, this is so we know where we saw you last. So we update every week as we go out. Unfortunately, we've lost quite a few of our Native relatives that are buried in the county cemetery as a John Doe or Jane Doe because these fraudulent homes won't call the medical examiner. They'll take them straight to the mortuary. Whereas if you're not identified within 2 weeks, they will cremate you and bury you as a case number. So, and with the MMIP, MMIR, this all coincides regardless of where you're at in the states, the country, native country. If there is a substance abuse, whether it's drugs or alcohol, and you keep an eye on your family member and you notice that they go missing, that would be the first place to look because this fraud is now in Chicago. It was in California. It was in Montana. Montana's getting a grip on it. Unfortunately, Montana has been the only state that their tribes have really listened to what we've been saying because they were impacted so highly with relatives being brought down here, recruited by our own people down here to the valley. So they are now on top of it. And so it's just when you have advocates all over, you can reach out to them and say, hey, we got somebody missing, or, in order to get them home, because the financial part of it was so excessively high at the beginning because out of my own pocket, I was buying plane tickets, bus tickets. And then we started GoFundMe's and we started begging online to help our people get home, and we've sent families of 9 home back up to Montana, and with the help of Medicine Wheelride, they've been there, right, supporting us. So when you have to go online and beg to get help, and thanks to the public that's really, really pushed us along, and they've been the ones that help us with donations so we can go out every week and make sure that our people have water, they have some food, and we encourage them to go home. We encourage them to get help. But you can't force them, unfortunately. They have to be ready to do it. So that's where we're at on that.
Can I speak a little bit on that? Can you hear me? Okay. So we've kind of created a network among tribes that were impacted by this. And through the help of various organizations and people like myself who have been doing work in these communities and in these tribal communities, we were able to get in contact with leadership when we were met with obstacles like our relatives um, having their personal documentation taken away from them, like their IDs and their driver's licenses, because most times our relatives needed that documentation to travel home via airplane or bus tickets. Excuse me. So um, this this network of advocates and tribal leadership has been very instrumental in getting a lot of our relatives home. The other thing that I want to speak on is it has been just completely amazing how many relatives that Turtle Island Women Warriors has gotten home. It's not a mere 20 or 30 or 40 or even a couple of hundred. We've been able to get thousands of relatives home. And I think Reba has the more accurate numbers or closer numbers that we have. And in the height of this, a couple of years ago, we were getting calls just about every day about somebody looking for their relative. And they were tribes from the Dakotas, from Montana, from Wyoming, from Washington and Oregon. A lot of uh, tribes that I had done work in. And amazingly, we were able to, network because, a lot of people or a lot of the connections I didn't have or Reba didn't have or somebody else didn't have, we were able to reach out and create these chat groups. And somebody in that chat group would have a connection in that area. And we would just keep, beating the path and, following the trail that way. So we had to get really creative. The other thing that was really instrumental in finding relatives and being able to get them home was the use of social media, putting it out to the public. I think if you were to take a look at Reva's IP, you would find thousands, if not millions, of transactions where we would put out notices of attempts to locate and flyers, sharing flyers of missing relatives. So and the hard work of all of that is all of that, all of those transactions, all of those phone calls, all of those chat groups, those are all documented in those 7 boxes that Reba talks about. And this is all her work. So, I just want to emphasize how dedicated and how meticulous her work has been in this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on how you're making and maybe what programs you're connecting relatives to back home here on the Navajo Nation, and what that process, if there's any challenges or any best practices that you've figured that is helpful for our team, or whether it's or if it relates back to policy. We are making changes and looking for recommendations and looking for ways to better support our relatives that are that end up out in the city or in border towns like this. Do you have any of those recommendations that you can share?
I think most definitely, I think we need to get, we have so many chapter houses on Navajo Nation that need to be aware of this because, again, this hasn't ended. This is still going on. As of 3 weeks ago, we had 9 men that were brought from Tuba City by a Nigerian man. The sister reported it because the brother was so scared to report because he was in that home. And the guy had told them, here, fend for yourself in this home. I'll be back. You guys get your own food. They didn't even have electric or water. They were just brought into this home. So the sister was working on trying to get them out of that home. I got the address. I reported it. But when you go to these homes, and they're huge homes, these owners will say, oh no, they're not sober living homes because they have no documentation. There's no documentation in these homes at all. So it's just by word of mouth, by addresses. You go start checking the addresses, and you will find, through social media, you will find that there is a connection. There's a connection everywhere with these homes, and how these bad actors, they all have parts to each home. Whether you find out that they were in one home, they'll ship them to another home. So it's just a lot of educating. We had to educate the police officers down here, private detectives, anybody that we can talk to, we educate them because If you don't educate them, they're going to not know what's going on, and they're going to assume, well, look, we have more natives out here. Why are they out here? They're just, they're just here for alcohol. They're just here for drugs, without knowing the background of why they're down in this area. And also we have, again, as of, to date, the recruiting is still high, even on social media. You go to these sobriety resource pages, they're actively recruiting. If you have access, the American Indian Health Plan, we'll put you in a home. We'll do this. I helped a couple 3 years ago. They were home this whole time, and they posted, oh, we were welcome back into this sober living home. So I reached out and I said, you need to make sure your family knows where you're at, the who, where, what, why, when. Document everything. And that's what I do. I document. That's why I have so many boxes, is I document and I write everything down, because if I know where they were at last, then we can find, we'll follow that rabbit hole and find out where they ended up. So it's just a lot of educating, getting out there, especially Navajo Nation right now, with the recruiting. It's so active right now.
I wanted to elaborate on that part with so we're an outreach nonprofit. We go out and we do outreach. We work with Scottsdale Recovery. If one of the unsheltered relatives want to go in treatment, we hand that over to Axiom, Scottsdale Recovery. They take care of that part. We don't go and we don't. So when the person wants to go to detox, they go to detox, they go into treatment. And I think we've been collecting data of, missing, and we're collecting data. But as far as when they go into a treatment center, we don't track that. So I think that I suggest that the Navajo Nation should track the clients that are now going into YHC and see what's going on with that part, because they get out of treatment and then they go back to the reservation, or they go back to a sober living home within Phoenix, and that's the crucial part for someone is, okay, they're out in a sober living home, a legitimate sober living home. What are the resources that they have? How can they handle living on their own, being sober? And I think that's where we as a tribal member, our tribal delegates, where they need that support. Housing, transportation, just that part is the crucial part for someone to help their recovery. And I think that's something that, they could go to treatment, they could do 90 days, but after that, they need a lot of resources to help them. Even if they go back home, they're going to be amongst their peers. They're going to be amongst their uncles, aunties who are drinking around them. What resources can we give them to help them in their recovery? And I think that's the one thing that we're lacking in these tribal communities. And I think that's something that we should really work on, is the aftercare for these people that get out of treatment. And if that doesn't work out, they come back into these fraudulent group homes because they don't have anywhere to stay on the res. So they get recruited, they get into this whole hamster wheel of being in these fraudulent group homes. And, and then when they relapse, they go back on the street, they use, and then it's just an ending cycle. So I think that's where we're lacking. And that's where we need to figure out, okay, how can we support these people? Because now there's a lot of people who just, some of them, we enable that. They know they could get into a fraudulent group home and stay there for a couple of weeks, get food and resources. And then, they go back onto the streets to use or whatever. So I think that's one of the crucial part we need to work on.
Perfect, like a phase-centered, like a transitional phase treatment plan,
Yes.
connected back to, I really like that. I did, unfortunately, we had, I had requested that after my brother went missing and unfortunately passed and was found in Phoenix. So I definitely have made some of those recommendations to some leadership, but I've yet to hear back. So I'd appreciate some of those maybe written pieces. I think that would be really helpful. My last question, because we're working on some data, is how are you all tracking, or how are you, do you have a data management system, or how are you guys pen and paper? What does that look like?
We don't have it. We do have a data management system. Our work is we're all volunteer. We don't get no grants. We applied for grants, but we've been consistently denied. So this is just all voluntarily. We have a Microsoft, forms that we use, and a good friend helps us track all that stuff for us. So through Microsoft is that or Google, we keep all that, and the data that Riva has too, the reports that she has it all saved on a drive that she secures.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. And I'd like to connect offline. I might have a solution for you all. My agency is nonprofit as well, and I'm currently in the process of purchasing another data management system that's online. And so I think our paths are crossing, and this is something I'd like to open up to other members outside of my agency in regards to missing persons and more tracking and safety overall. So I'll send you all an email. I think I took a picture of your last slide that has your email on there. So thank you so much.
I think we have a question from D. Charlie.
Yeah, hi, good morning. One thing I wanted to add it is Yatesh Davina Charlie and the Shea Tohana Nishler Ashihin Bashin Tobahe Dashache Tachini Dashanella. Ada Hudao Dana Estah Nishler. Thank you everyone again for being here, and always Amber for facilitating this place for us to come and speak and connect and collaborate. I've personally seen Riva out here in the community. Yate Riva, the first time I met you, I was actually a customer. I came into your business. Riva does an amazing job for the community out here, Amber. I definitely want to say thank you as well for sister right here, for your platform, willing to connect with Riva, because there's a lot of solutions right there and answers and true issues that you can get for someone that's on foot, on ground, out on the streets helping our Native community. I personally have not been out with Raiseware yet, out with her team or organization, and I've been meaning to, but I definitely can advocate and definitely support what they do and say they are a safe organization for you to donate and to work with. And the thing about the issue that I've noticed she faces among other organizations, and she did mention a great recovery center as well too, that I personally recommend a lot of family and friends to go to as well when they're looking for services at Scottsdale Recovery. So a lot of the people that are organizing and volunteering are people in recovery and people with experiences like myself. So when we come and speak to these, just like Sister said, it was your brother that went missing and was found beaten. My brother as well was picked up on Navajo Nation. He is a vulnerable community member that our target. Our vulnerable community went its target out there. That's one of the issues, is we got to start protecting our vulnerable community. Secondly, is they know for a fact they are enrolled in the Native American Health Plan, which they specifically target for. Native American Health Plan insurance is a Medicaid that we get that our natives, especially Navajos, are automatically enrolled into, because we're not being educated at the DES office. They're not being educated there about their having options. And since they hear Native American Health Plan, they're automatically going to select it, which makes them even more prone to be targeted and scammed. So this is also a Medicaid and an insurance issue, Amber, that I would like to bring attention to as well, that we can help start reducing and getting these issues that are also falling through the loopholes in the crack. And like Sister said, is what is their, Reva, what she was asking is, what is their solution of after you send them home? what is that? And you know too, Reva, is when we send them to Scottsdale Recovery, because like I said, I personally recommend them to as a local, as a family member, a relative, and a community and a volunteer. I've seen Scottsdale Recovery myself. I've seen the respect, the treatment there. It's safe for our Native relatives to go to. Here is Reva, we are lacking that resources back on all reservations, not just Navajo Nation. And Reva can attest for that because she has worked with multiple tribal members throughout the whole US and into Alaska. So Reva can definitely speak with her team and community members that she works with about what their stories of live experiences of they continue to issue. So right here's that huge factor that we want to bring a voice that the insurance is a huge issue, that we are target and not educated about that. When Native Americans are on that health plan, even children in the CPS system, even women on the domestic violence shelters that have the Native American health plan, and fathers, single fathers with children out here in the cities in sober livings, they are more prone to be target higher because the Native American health plan pays out double or more than Arizona Health, than Blue Cross Blue Shield, or any other Medicaid program. So on Navajo Nation and only accepts IHS, Native American Health Plan, on the Navajo Nation. All of our hospitals only accept that plan for them to get services, and that's not fair. That makes them more prone to be target out here in the cities and off the reservation. And we need to bring it in attention to that issue of educating our community, educating mothers, fathers, people coming out of the hospitals, signing up that plan, they have options. They don't have to stay on the Native American health plan. That's an issue of them being paid out, which is keeping other places now. It's a good thing. It's making more paperwork on the sober livings, more visits on the home, but there's barriers that people are still getting in. Like she said right now, my goodness, within 2 weeks, within a month, I mean, I could say 4 weeks, Navajos have already been target again. That's disturbing. I felt like that reduced it. I'll tell you the truth, Ray, but I didn't really know that was still an issue personally. I felt like it was being taken care of. I'm not really hearing stories anymore, but hearing this right now is actually sad now. I'm like, it makes me more concerned that we need to educate our community more about this. But the fact that, Amber, while you're up there speaking for us, can you please make this aware that we need to have the Medicaid system check the Native American health plan to educate our Native American people more. And Reva is going to be a great resource, and her team and the people she uses are amazing people that I work with. And I'm very grateful to see you on here, Reva. Thank you for being here. I'm really grateful to see you. Hopefully we can work more. So yeah, Amber, I just want to say thank you for this time and moment. And that's what Reva is facing. They need help as well. That's where I was coming in, is saying that once our people get home on the reservation, Amber, what next? And personally, I don't like to send them home because they're going to go back into the same addictions. They're going to go back into the same cycles, the same homes they're running from. We're just sending them back to after they just got done being abused again, victimized, and properly introduced into more abuse substances. That's how more of our natives get introduced to fentanyl now. Fentanyl and meth, it's getting more on there, and it's brought home because they're left here. So we rather keep them here. Their chances of surviving and living is being sent here to the Valley of a Resource Center. So we know that we have the Navajo Nation one that's running and operated, but we also have issues there too that I would like to say, Amber, come in. I would love to walk with you, talk with you through this. We'll bring Reva into. I would love Reva and Jared to be there, and Raquel. Those are the people I mainly work with out here, more with Raquel and Jared. So thank you for this time, Amber, again. I really appreciate this, and thank you for Creator for bringing us together. Yeah, guys.
Yeah, Chadija, thank you. So, Riva, did you want to answer those questions, or did you want to go to Gina?
I can answer those questions.
Sure.
Those with the American Indian Health Plan that's being targeted, I know that, I went to my fourth hearing on last Thursday where they introduced a new bill to outside source the American Indian Health Plan. Mind you, I'm not in politics. I care about our people, but if anybody will listen and we continue to educate our people, and a lot of our advocates and our volunteers that go out will, if they want prayers, we'll do prayers with them. I know that Warriors Code down here hands out medicine bags to our unsheltered. So these are little things that will help them bring them back into their traditional ways as well. So, unfortunately, we can't force them to go home, but when they do and they want to go home, it has worked. We have a lot of success stories of our people going home and making a difference after what they, experienced here. So it is, um, it can happen that they go home, but we just need the resources of, outreach, or, recovery outreach out there. What do you call that? Leanna, help me out here. Um, Sobriety classes. So
Like aftercare for.
aftercare, correct.
Aftercare.
Aftercare. So, it's just a matter of combining our work to make this happen, to actually, again, educate, because a lot of our people just want a roof over their head. So they don't know that their information is actually being sold outside of Arizona. We've had a few people that found out that their information that they left behind or they couldn't take out of these homes were being sold up to people up in Portland. So when they were getting a job or they were doing their taxes, this is what they found out. Wow, my identification has been stolen. So this is just a whole web of people who know how to play the system and take advantage, especially because our people are so vulnerable to this. And it goes back to our own people recruiting and, taking advantage of where we stand in the community, where we stand as, people. How do you stop this? How do you continue to keep this out there? These are questions that we have. What can you all do to help us? Because we're out here and we're boots on the ground. We have to make sure they're okay. We have to, and we could say we quit. How many times have I quit because it's so hard? But we go out there, we don't stop. We give ourselves pep talks. Hey, we'll see you on Wednesday. We'll do this. What do we need? Let's make care packages. So it's continuous. And when you have a team of people who have been in this system, who've either worked in the system or have been fraudulently in the system as well, that come together now to make it better for everyone, it really does work. It really does work. We can come from all parts of, society, whether we're a felon, whether we're, not even in the recovery system, so when you get Native people who want to help, it does work. So, any other questions? I think I've answered it all, but again, it's just a lot of communicating, a lot of communicating, a lot of educating, especially now. I mean, I kid you not, this recruiting is rampant right now. Everybody has said, "Oh, I thought it was over 2 years ago." It's not over. We're hitting the $8 billion mark. We're losing more of our Native relatives. Either, and we personally have seen our Native relatives on SMI that get hit because they're battling their addiction. They just walk out into the road. We've had to save lives. We've had to Narcan a lot of our relatives. And some, unfortunately, we weren't able to save. So we stay with their body until, family members come up and retrieve them. So it's not an easy job, and it's not something that, if you don't have the heart for it, it's going to make it harder for you.
Also, I wanted to say that a legitimate facility will not drive to pick you up, will not pay for your flights. So I just want to let the relatives know on the reservation, they won't pick you up. You have to go to the detox center to get dropped off. So I wanted to elaborate that part. So if you know anybody getting picked up by a recovery center, that's probably a fraudulent one.
So I just want to add to what Leanna and Reba have said, and it's more of a reiteration. Just to repeat that if you have a loved one, if you have a family member that is in need of recovery services, vet out the facilities that you plan on sending them to, or reach out to Reba, just to find out the legitimacy of certain facilities, because once again we do network with facilities down here. We network with different resources that have information that isn't out to the public. So, I think on a home level that we need to learn how to vet out these fraudulent scheming programs out there that are targeting our relatives. Ask a lot of questions.
Also, one quick thing. I wanted to elaborate more on the toolkit. So we get a lot of people reaching out to us, finding missing people. We do have a task force here in Phoenix, but they reach out and they don't get response from them. So they come to us and they ask us. So we brainstorm, we put together this toolkit. It helps us streamline. For example, one of my daughter's uncles went missing. They did a police report. The Glendale police said, oh, we can't do anything about it. He wants to be out there wherever. So she came to us and asked us, so how can we find him? And a lot of our relatives we see every Wednesday when we do outreach. So we know the people, we know who's out there. So I reached out to Reva. I said, hey, my daughter's uncle's missing, and this is how he looks. These are his tattoos. And she's like, I seen him. I saw him last week. So we tracked that. Okay, we have a vision of him. We saw him, and then we did our research, and then he ended up being in jail. So he was in jail. So a lot of people will reach out to us. So now we give them the toolkit and we have them go through different steps. Okay. Do you want to elaborate more on that, Reba?
Okay, our quick guide for families. It's this handout is for families when a loved one goes missing. It's meant to help you know what you can ask for, what to expect from agencies, know how to work with grassroots groups. You're not alone. Your questions and your demands are valid. So it just goes back to the who, where, what, why, when. And we ask, if you get this quick guide, that you ask them to start documenting, whether it's get a notebook and document everything, because there is always a trail. There is always a trail. So report them missing right away. That's what we encourage. If they go missing, report them right away. Get them on the NamUs system as well. Get a report case number, and I'm sure everybody who's in the MMIP world knows all of this. Is you report them right away. You go back and you start looking in their social media. Who are their friends? Where were they last at? You write everything down. So when we go out on Wednesdays, we do this now, is we ask for their names, where we saw them last, where they're from, and they voluntarily give us that information now, because I tell them, if you go missing and there is a missing persons report, I will know where we saw you last, so we can tell the family that. We've had them use our phones to call home, so they could tell family members where they're at. So it's just a lot of, a document where they stay, encampments, group homes, shelters, motels, bus stops, friends' houses, because they tend to move around a lot when they get when the police come down here and they do their sweeps. When they do their sweeps, they try to send them all south. Why, I don't know, is they're, they send them south, but a lot of our Native relatives tend to stay close to the Phoenix Indian Medical Health Hospital. So and that's pretty much like the elderly ones that hang out in that area. So we're able to see where they're at, what they're doing. And unfortunately, we've had to send elders home. As far as, I think Oklahoma was our last one. He was 75 years old. He was in recovery for alcohol, hadn't drank in years and years, came down to one of these fraudulent sober living homes. 75 years old, went home with a fentanyl addiction. So when you have that, it's really, really, really sad to see our elderly people out there, in walkers, in wheelchairs. So it's just, you have to keep track of them. You write everything down, known partners, friends, and you notify community helpers. There's so many advocates out there here in the Valley. We have Rachel Relin, who also works with I think it's called Shadina Care. She goes and does outreach. So when she needs help, she will come to me as well. And we collaborate that way again, like with Tara up north. So many advocates. As far as Delaware, last 2 years ago, we sent 3 people home back to Alaska. So we have advocates all over that, we try to track, and hey, if you know somebody that can help us, we need help here. Um, what you can ask from police and agencies. What is our case number? Who is our point of contact? Get their name, phone number, anybody you speak to, and it becomes paperwork. It becomes paperwork because you can always go back and say, this is who I spoke to. Has my loved one been entered into an all-person missings report? Local, state, tribal, national databases. When will I get an update? It's just a matter of asking. Have you checked shelters, jails, hospitals? And who can help us legally? If an officer says they just want to be out there, you can respond, they are still a missing person and a vulnerable relative. We're asking you to treat this as a high risk and take action. And write everything down. Who said it, when, exactly what was said. And again, this goes to underage children and teens with the turquoise alert. How does that affect them? Because we know that you have to meet 5 criterias in order to get on that turquoise alert. So when our Native relatives go missing, as an adult, why aren't they automatically put onto the turquoise alert, regardless if they're in a sober living home, or a fraudulent home? They are considered missing. They're vulnerable. So we ask, what criteria are you using to decide? And always ask for written documentation, especially for our children, because they should be automatically high risk. Have disabilities, health needs, are they in foster care, group home, prior trafficking, exploitation, runaway reports. Just document every response. And with the child being lost or running away from a facility, they said that doesn't meet the criteria. But every child under 18 can't make adult decisions. So we've questioned that. Are the families provided attorneys and advocates? How often do you go and do, boots on the ground, as, a task force? Because there's encampments, canals, bus stops, shelters, group homes, motels. Motels we need to speak about, because I had a father looking for his daughter who was in a fraudulent sober living home, who is now, she is home, but she was being sexually trafficked out of these motels. And I question that. Who do we speak to about that? Well, there's really nothing you can do because they're adults and they're being trafficked again by these owners of these homes who had them in a fraudulent home are now sexually trafficking them out of these motels. So that is something else that, you know, I've been trying to speak about as well. So um and our you know, we have this how to use this handout. Again, it goes back to documenting everything. And we, you know, we tell them to reach out to us. I have family members that still reach out to me from 3, 4 years ago just to let me know they're okay and stuff. So it's just a matter of communication. Again, timeline of events, date, time, what happened. Again, it goes back to the who, where, what, when, why, and just documenting everything. So again, you know, it has helped this it has helped over 3 people get home so far. You know, they were able to find their families within a matter of, you know, getting our report, um or not a report, but our quick guide. So, and I have here a tribal record spreadsheet that I started. And this is, you know, where their name, their tribe, location, date that we saw them. So every time we go out, we'll ask their names and we'll date where we saw them last. Um, and I've had people from White Mountain Apache, Yaqui, Hopi, Navajo, quite a few from Navajo. Um, and we do have families that come out and do outreach with us that have found family members. We just last week we were wondering who was parked beside us, and we're like, why are they just waiting? So they waited till we were able to feed, because we have one of our volunteers that cooks for everybody. And he was a blind, I think he's from White Mountain. He was blind, and his family just jumped out as soon as they saw him. So, you know, we have this this team that goes out, that cooks, that, you know, make sure they have care packages, socks, you know, and that's what we always ask for through donations, is we need this and we need that. So yeah, anything else?
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Gina, I've been following the chat and looking at the resources you presented. If you could introduce yourself to the Turtle Island Women Warriors and the work you do with as a federal partner. Gina, Shada, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning. Yat Bene. I am Navajo and I work at Flagstaff right now. I'm the Southwest MMIP regional coordinator. I've been working in Indian country for like almost 40 years as a prosecutor, treatment court person, teen court person. I also had a brother who went to Afghanistan, came back with severe PTSD, and he drank himself to death. So I'm a family member of a person that had an addiction. And so I got into behavioral health, and you're right, there is a need for supportive housing. People don't think of that, but there is a need. But I wanted to pretty much ask you questions because there are these Medicaid funds are federal funds that are managed by the state. And I know the states, they develop their own way of implementing them. Like New Mexico, they do it a different way, but Arizona's access. And then they put in some of their state monies to fund it, and then the eligibility, etc. But bottom line is it's federal funds. So I put links in the chat. Have you used the FBI, the fraud investigators? Because they do have them. Have you used the Health and Human Services investigators? Because our office does actively go after these fraudulent fraudsters. I put a link in the chat of the most recent prosecution that Arizona did against, I think he was from Pakistan. But in order to do a case, there needs to be evidence. So I would encourage anyone that has any information to go to all of them. There's an Arizona hotline as well, and have them gather the evidence to go after these living homes. They can do search warrants. They can do like interstate prosecutions. The one case that you were talking about, Portland, like sharing personal identifiable information, that would be something that they should be investigating. And then the last thing I want to say is, as a family member of a person that had an addiction, that had a mental illness, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing out there, because sometimes we forget our relatives once they leave the reservation, and that should not be the case, but oftentimes we do. And I just want to applaud your work and hope that the Arizona Attorney General's office, and I don't know if Rachel is here, Rachel Hood, but this is something that maybe she and I can discuss in terms of finding resources out there and making an effort to try to help. I don't know how, but anyway, my contact information's in the chat. You can email me. We can set up a meeting later. I do want to support your efforts to bring these people to justice in a way that they will never do harm to our vulnerable people that have serious mental illness, PTSD, depression, and those family members of, like me, who was really trying to help. And there's only so much that we could do for them when they take off, when they're using. But anyway, thank you.
Appreciate it. Reba?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, all of our reports have gone to the OIG, to the FBI, the Attorney General. We've had meetings with the governor. I mean, we've done it all. We continue to keep our voice out there because, like I said, all we ever wanted to do was help our people and ask for accountability because, like you said, they seem to feel like they were forgotten. That's why they continue in this hamster wheel. And we have so many family members that have been affected by this. And it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to see with the addiction and the fentanyl so high. And seeing our people, now in wheelchairs because of the fentanyl. And so again, we report everything. And I'll be honest, I have not reported since March of 2025 because a lot of our information was leaked back out to these fraudulent homes with my name, with my phone number, even though it's out there, but it also put our people's names, birth dates, everything that we took, as a documentation was actually going back to these fraudulent homes. So they started questioning them. So Access, AZDHS, the Attorney General, and the Governor are well aware that we haven't reported. I just had an email yesterday in regards to having a phone call with them because, I said we need to make sure that this documentation is safe, because it has everybody's information on it. It has birth dates, it has, why they reported, it has family members' names and stuff on there. So yeah, so we have been reporting. We're pretty active on getting this out there. And again, with the dedication of the team, it does make it so much easier that we can all work together, even though we all have full-time jobs, and we're able to continue to take the reports. But right now, we're working on a solution on getting these reports backtracked back into the system because we need to make sure that they're safe before we do anything.
Riva, can you elaborate on the Senate hearing that you've had with Senator Warner and what she has done?
Yes, we have had 4 Senate hearings. It's been a few years that I've reached out and, just kept pushing this out there. Hey, we need help. We need this. We anything to get this out there. And um, Senator Warner reached out and asked, how can I help? She's gone on outreach with us. She sees what we see. The first time I was hesitant because I was like, I don't know who this is. I don't know if they're going to be intimidated because she's out here. But she went just, she didn't have anybody else out there with her. She just went by herself and she came out and did outreach with us a couple of times and saw what we saw. And um, so having somebody actually listen and see what we see and doing hearings on it, she's like, we're going to pull this band-aid off because they're just covering it with a band-aid. Too many of these people have walked off with millions of dollars, but they forgot the humane part of it, because so many of our people are now in, you know, um, unmarked graves. They're still missing. Where are they at? So if we can get this stopped, regardless if, it's under the American Indian Health Plan, it just needs to be a whole lot of change and a whole lot of educating and having more people speak on it, not just us. We need anybody and everyone speaking on this and getting it out there. Hey, this is still happening. This is still going on. Educate our people not to send people down here unless they go through a legitimate facility. You have that new facility under Navajo um, that I know they graduated with, I think it was like 12 people in December. But again, it goes back to the relapse of some of them because there was no aftercare. So it's just, hopefully changes are happening. We saw that the the director of access resigned yesterday, or she put in her resignation yesterday. So we're going to end up having someone different again. I've gone through Carmen Heredia and the new director. So if we continue to keep this out there and hold somebody accountable, we can do it. Um, and we need everybody's voices at this point.
Thank you for that, Riva. I had a question for you, but I'll touch base again with Leanna about that information. It was just about any type of infographics or any type of like information that we can share with our people here on the Navajo Nation, just what to look out for when it comes to the fraudulent sober living homes, what to look out for, and what are the main kind of like red flags when it comes to stuff like that. But again, I'll touch base with the Leanna about that so we can move along with this call. So next on the list is Gary Mike. Gary, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Uh, Turtle Island Women Warriors, I appreciate all the work that you do, and I support your efforts to find our missing people. Uh, One thing I want to say is that today is from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Today is National Missing Persons Day. Let's remember those who are still missing and their families who wake up every day hoping today is a day their loved ones come home. All right. This people that are missing, if we need to find them, it takes persistence and it takes partnership with everyone. And so let's stand with these families. We're still waiting, still hoping, and they're still believing that those people who are missing will be found. And I appreciate the work that you do. And just remember those who are still missing. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Gary. Let's see. We do have one more person who would like to comment on the presentation. Kimberly, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm right here. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name's Kimberly Carlston. I am a victims advocate for the law firm of Darling Gomez, and MMIW are Indian country. I just want to, thank the advocates that are out there looking for our unsheltered relatives, helping them out on the streets, especially with their addiction. I really applaud you guys. It does take a lot out of yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically, being out there trying to help them, getting them resources or trying to get them back home. It does take a lot of discipline to help them out and to just be out there every day, every day. So I really do applaud you guys and your hard work that you guys are doing. But being the fact that, today is Missing Persons Day, and there has been a lot of people have been saying, it's legislation season for our leaderships. Right now, bills are being passed, being reformed. That is something I'm very big and passionate about. The past 3 years, me and my mom have been down in Santa Fe trying to lobby, push certain bills. This is the first year we kind of stepped back and weren't down there every day. But we have been down there almost every week since sessions have been open. We've been working a lot with our Senator J.C. Block. He's been fantastic working with us, really trying to promote our missing and murdered Indigenous relatives. He's been, putting pressure on law enforcement within New Mexico side, trying to have accountability there and get cases going to where they're solved or our missing relatives are being found. We've been working with Senator Nicole Tobiasen. She's been supporting us, and Crystal Brentley. She's also been supporting us. And so this Friday is Indigenous Day at the Santa Fe Roundhouse. And me and Darlene were personally asked and invited by Senator J.C. Block to stand with him on the Senate floor as he reads off the names of our missing Indigenous relatives in New Mexico. Sadly, our list is over 200. He said he'll try to read the whole list. If he doesn't, he'll read as much as he can for the time that he has. So this is me, just reaching out to anyone who is available to join us at the Roundhouse Saturday. Not Saturday, Friday afternoon, morning to afternoon, and just make an impact, show them that, we're done being silent. We want accountability. We want our loved ones found. When me and Block were going over the list and he was looking at it, he was frustrated. He was very frustrated. He was upset. And it wasn't anything to do with our conversation. It was just on how long people have been missing. I mean, he was looking at them, reading the names, looking at the pictures, and the more he was reading the names and going down, he was getting more frustrated with our leadership, with our law enforcement. So, I'm just asking anyone that is able to please come down this Friday to Santa Fe Roundhouse. Let's stand united. Let's support our leaderships that are trying to support us. And, but that's just all I have to say. Thank you all. And that's it.
Okay, so time checked. It is now 10:07. Do we have any more questions?
Tatiana,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
this is Delegate Cruddy. Thank you. I wanted to follow up with in my chat, Riva.
I've been on a tour with Native Connections prior to COVID, so it's been a while. But do you think Native Connections is the best practice for our relatives who are in the metro area there in Phoenix? I just read their website that they have 25 other sites that they're working with, and it looks like their impact has been 10,000 relatives, but I'm not sure if those are all our Native relatives or they have a mix.
I know that Native American Connection is one of the places to go to, but unfortunately, a lot of them have had experiences with relapse and stuff. So I know that Native American Connections with is the only one that should be sourced from out of state, because I know that oh gosh, what's that place in Gallup? The detox center. We had a meeting with them because we had noticed that they were bringing our Native relatives down to the town of Maricopa, and we asked, do you guys go through Navajo Nation? Do you go through their behavioral health, Treba, I think? And they said, oh, the wait's too long. They take too long. So they were literally bringing people down 2 o'clock in the morning to take them down to Maricopa, town of Maricopa. So we did mention that to them. We did mention that why don't they go through Native American Connections, because that's who they I think Treba is sourced out from Navajo Nation to them. They have some good programs. Leanna would know. She's worked in the system uh, with this new YHC. She also does speak over there too. So I would ask Leanna about some of those questions you asked Amber.
Hi, Amber. What for Native American Connections is a legitimate facility. They do house non-natives and natives together, and it's for families as well, couples as well. I mean, it's a legitimate facility. Also, the thing I like about Native American Connections is they have affordable housing. So when the people are in treatment, they could apply for affordable housing and get into their affordable housing and live in the metro area of Phoenix. They have a couple in downtown Phoenix and central Phoenix. So they do help out. They do a lot for, Native Americans. So I would, they're one of the people I would refer them to if they have families, children's, or couples. Same as YHC. They just opened. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, appreciate that feedback. I know that they, in terms of like a financial plan, they've been successful by setting up like a 5 to 10 year treatment plan. So I will follow up, and hopefully when we go down to the Phoenix area before it gets too hot, we could connect as a team. And so I would need your help, and for others who are there in the Phoenix metro area who would want to meet as a follow-up. And but we meet here every Tuesday from 8:30 to 10. And so this will always be a space where you could come back to provide additional information. We are building up a MMDR database. And so I understand the challenges when your information was leaked. We found a similar situation when we started our work, in the early 2016, 2017, because data is a commodity that these individuals use. So we'll build up the trust, and we'll see what information your team would want to share. But we would want to have a follow-up conversation on what data we should be collecting, because our database will be not only will we'll be working with law enforcement when there's an actual missing person reported, but I appreciate that your team documents the last time you've seen them. And I think that could be a lot of the prevention work, especially if we have habitual relatives who the family members are concerned. That's where we could do like more case management and see what programs funding is available that Navajo Nation receives that we could deploy out in the Phoenix area. So I'll have to do a little bit of more research on my side, but definitely can move forward with that initiative. I know the Arizona legislator will go over the Senate bill. Our Arizona caucus will meet this Friday. So I'll tell our chair of the Navajo Nation Arizona caucus about the Senate bill. Okay, sorry. And so the last thing I wanted to mention, Kimberly, you mentioned some of the leadership you're meeting with in Santa Fe. Could you identify the bills that you've been working on?
Yeah, we've been working on a few of the bills. Like one of them is against child crime acts. That is one that we have been following along. And then I have been following along with I believe it's House Bill 62 or 72 for gun rights. You know, I get some people have a passion about, gun ownerships and things like that, but I feel like if you're a law-abiding citizen, you have every right to protect yourself, and I feel like that right shouldn't be violated. I've been also following along with the bills, the bills for sex crimes, the House bills for CYFD. They're funding, they're auditing, not allowing children to stay within the CYFD facilities. And then those are just the main ones I've been focusing on. And then also the bill with our law enforcement, if anyone should shoot a law enforcement officer or harm them in any violent ways, to have a harsher punishment and charges on them. And then another bill that it didn't get put in this year, but it is something we're reforming and looking into, is just the missing person criteria. You know, a lot of the cases that I've had, a lot of the families have to file a missing persons report 3 to 4 times before it finally gets put in the system, because law enforcement are saying that they don't meet their criteria. So I've been trying to work with state police and our local law enforcement here about what their protocols are, what they're supposed to be doing, how their protocols are, their formats are, and then getting certain things reformed with that. And then also, I've been working with them for next session to reform the catch and release policy, or either to just get it thrown out completely. And, you know, because that is something that really affects our people down here when we're dealing with violent criminals. They go in for a night or 2 nights and then they get released. And then they're back out there causing mayhem. So those are a few things that we've been working on reforming as well.
Okay, appreciate that feedback and your team's efforts. So we'll review those bills and to see if they align with our MMDR families, especially when it comes to gun violence. There's some strong opinions in terms of how those weapons have been used to harm and murder our relatives. So appreciate it. I don't have anything else, so Tatiana, we could end the call.
Yep, just a quick time check. It is 10:17, so we'll end the call at this time. Thank you everyone for joining.